of course, Diddy's back in the news, and I know we talk about him each time, but it seems like something always comes up in regards to Diddy. Now, for this and for our listeners and our viewers, I want to understand what it means to get a judgment, whether it's criminal, whether it's civil, to get a letter in the mail to show up to court and you just ignore it. Basically, someone sued Diddy, in which, and again, this is we don't know the details of this, but we're gonna play into what we let's just say a hypothetical. Someone sues Diddy for 100 million for whatever they say happened to him. He chooses, or him or his lawyers choose to ignore that that letter, and they choose to not to show up for their court date, and therefore the judge, and let's say the defendant pulls up, the judge says, hey, the other party's not here, you win this judgment, therefore whatever you're seeking for, you're granted, and now the judge, he commits to, of course, not only approve it, but tell him exactly what it, what exactly the payment schedule is going to be and things of that nature. Um, Tell us how that works as far as just ignoring showing up, and then also can you contest it afterwards if you did show up to a judgment?
The answer is you should never ignore a lawsuit. But in some cases, there are some defendants that use that as a strategy because you do have a window in order to have a motion to reconsider on that particular issue. Whether, for whatever reason, Diddy wasn't available, they didn't serve the right individual, the letters didn't go to the right address. There are a number of different reasons in which this issue could be reversed or uh, basically starting over. And so they have a window of time in which to do that. And so chances are they're going to do it. If they don't do it, you know, because now it's public. Now it's world news. Now you have to have known about this. And so you can't say that you didn't know in time because it was basically reported the day that it happened. And so now I'm pretty sure his lawyers are coming together, taking a look at the petition, what it says, and then getting themselves ready to fight what took place. And so that's going to be key. In some cases, you have people who ignore it because they're judgment proof. We've sued business owners who basically they weren't even paying their rent and they didn't have own their assets inside of the building, and then therefore they didn't really have any property that they owned. So we ended up getting a judgment, but were unable to collect because there was nothing there. One of the questions is you have to ask yourself with all these things that are going on with uh with Sean Combs, does has he moved his assets in such a way that he now has become judgment proof? That way people can file as many lawsuits as they want against him. They can have judgments, but he doesn't have the monies or the assets in order to satisfy those judgments. In some cases, if people try to hide assets, judges pierce those particular veils to find those assets and make them pull those assets back into their possession so that they can go ahead and take care of those judgments. But, there's a lot of different variables here, and we really won't know until it all plays out.
Okay, so the second question to that is what I want to ask is and with lawsuits in general, how does one determine what to sue for? Is Can you sue for anything? Like, can I say I want 100 trillion out of somebody, or do you have to like look at what their net worth is? Like, what do lawyers look at to say? Because technically they're going for a settlement. They're not going for that amount. Mostly they're looking to settle for somewhere in a percentage of what they're asking for. How does one just come up with $100 million for whatever? Like, you have to look at, does someone have that money? Just kind of walk us through that as far as getting the number to sue for.
Okay. Look, man, to be honest with you, and I know I say that a lot, but real lawyers take a look at asset, they do asset searches. If during the discovery stage, they might look at your K1s to find out. But typically, when you first allege a lawsuit, there's usually brackets as far as the level of lawsuit. So there might be, $1 to 100,000, 100,000 to a million to 100 million. And so, depending on the category and the discovery that you receive, You then decide at that point when you go before a jury, what's the actual amount that you're going to ask for? And so he might have asked for that amount. And the other part of that is typically if there's no one on the other side to stop you, to say that that's ridiculous or we don't have it, Joker, you and I, someone can say, we want to sue them for $500 million. And we say we don't have that, but it doesn't stop them from asking for it. And it's going to be up to a jury or to a judge to say if that is a reasonable amount. In a lot of cases, like I said before, when there's no one on the other side, then the judge pretty much allows whatever to be asked for to be granted because there's no one there to object.
It's funny because there was a famous case with Taylor Swift where she was sued back in like 2013, and then by a DJ, and then then she countersued for $1, in which she won, and he had to pay $1 to her, and he did it as, I guess they call it a symbolic sue, I guess. Have you have you seen? I know you mentioned like ranges, and you mentioned $1 to Taylor Swift sued somebody for $1 and won.
Mhm.
Um, is that like, what are your thoughts on that? Like a symbolic sue?
A lot of times that's a strategy. And so if you countersue someone, you have to have something that you're asking for, right? You just can't say, I'm suing you back just to be suing you. And so it may have been two parts. Sometimes it's strategy. Sometimes you say to yourself, the DJ does not have enough, or that person doesn't have enough money to really even entertain me. I just want to countersue them so I can put up my issues against their issues in a court of law and win, right? So
Yeah.
if you sue me and then I say, well, no, you really did this and you really owe me money, but I'm not interested in really chasing down, or I'm not interested in the money. I just want to prove my point. I'll sue you for $1.
Shout out real street stars, nigga.